And we're live. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. My name is ArrowFyre. Welcome to Let's Talk Transformers, episode 20, the 2025 festive edition, indeed, the last one of the year. I'm joined tonight by three lovely co-hosts. I have, making his second appearance live on YouTube in a couple of days, David Cousens. I have Lee, Spiderfather, and Steve, Skywarp SCS. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me this evening.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Pleasure to be here.
Intro, get out of your system. Right, quick bit of news. So I won't recant news too heavily because David's seen it all, but I will share my screen. You've seen all the news ever for everything. Window, what do I want? Bear with, why is it not showing? That's what I want. That's what I want. That is what I want. So you should be able to see Lasercat. This is the chibi style. We've seen the box art for it now, and we've seen prototypes. But yes, Lasercat, in my opinion, mastermind creation. No, not mastermind creation. Mastermade. That's the other one. It's my opinion. That's what it's going to be. It's what they are under a different name, but it is a chibi style Volcanicus Dinobot set. We've seen what their designs look like, and now we're getting a look at the box. If it's anything like the Predaking box, it has a Velcro strap to do the window that flops up, and you see them all in their little casing, and that's why I think it's master-made, because that's what they did. It's nice, and they got adorable little faces and very little chubby cheeks and like a bit puffy cheeks. You just see on Snarl and Slug and Sludge. They all look very adorable, apart from Grimlock, who's got little wings. I don't know. They're cute. They're fine. The only thing I'd say, and before I get your opinion on them, I've got the Predaking, and I've had master-made chibi-style combiners before. They're absolutely fun. They're great little silly fun. And their charm is incredibly short-lived. Like, when I've had them, I've moved them on. Because they sit there and look adorable. Predaking should not look adorable. But he don't, and what do I do? So I don't know. It's a nice bit of the market, but I had the Triptychon and Omega Supreme. Actually, I thought chubby Omega Supreme was really quite cool, particularly with his little rocket. It was like that big and that thick, and it was like, this is fabulous. But at the end, I was just like, on you go. I don't know. What do you gents think? Anything?
I mean, like I say, they're not my cup of tea, but I don't begrudge anyone else enjoying them. They do look cute. I like that you get all five in a box, so you're not spending ages trying to track down each individual figure. But yeah, true. It's a Transformers is a big market, so it can absorb this kind of thing quite nicely.
Fair enough. There's not much else to say. We have seen some images of it. I'm going to open up a program. I didn't mean to click that. Go away. There we go. Away. Close window. Right, move on. Next item of news. We've seen an Onslaught. I want to get your opinions on this now. So this is for the Age of the Primes, Bruticus, that is being worked on. This is the commander bot, much like with the Superion from before. It's going to be the robot, as well as with it going on, turning into just the cab of the robot mode itself. Because, of course, the legs of Bruticus is going to form up the torso. Legs of, well, it is legs of Bruticus, but it's going to be the back half of Onslaught and his turret within that he uses. I saw this at MCM, and I thought this was absolutely brilliant. And I still think this is brilliant. But go on then, David. Do you want to double dip 2 nights in a row with your thoughts?
I was literally just remembering. I can't think who made the joke, but you can kind of see the legs of the character kneeling over as the guns, and that's slightly amusing to me in a very, very childish way.
Yeah, visible leg syndrome, absolutely. I think it was, as I said when I interviewed Evan at MCM, the Scramble City bots are all going to come with a frame, and so we've had that from Motormaster, Menasor, we've had it with Silverbot, Superion, this as well, and you've got to think Hotspot will be exactly the same. Be a bit different when it gets to Computron, maybe, and maybe even Abominus or anyone else. I think it makes sense, and I do think Onslaught allows it. I actually think we got a few more images of the combiner as well. That's it in somewhat skeleton frame mode, if you like. That's what Onslaught is purely going to make. I like the fact they thought to include...
He doesn't look at all stubby when he hasn't got anybody attached to him.
Fear not. How's that?
Yeah, I think it's an optical illusion. I think once you get him in hand, he's going to be fine. I will be picking up the DNA upgrade, like I pick up all the DNA upgrades these days, and I'm sure they'll make his feet. They'll put something under his feet to make his feet bigger.
That's what it needs. It's
that was
from a visual point of view, because obviously I unpick this kind of stuff all the time when I'm drawing. That right now is great as far as proportions, apart from it does need feet at the bottom, and then that would be absolutely great. It's I had the same thing with Devastator. I was kind of relieved because when it first got announced, I thought I'm definitely going to have to buy that. And then when I saw it, it's like, no, his legs are not quite where they need to be. And
that was a few of them. Sorry, David. That was my biggest complaint with the Combinables ones was those kind of dual purpose kind of hands and feet things they had, and the feet kind of end up looking very flat and very sort of almost non-existent. And then you had was it Perfect Effect? Perfect Effect did a load of hands and feet
the upgrade kit. Yeah.
And then when Computron came out in the gift set, Hasbro had actually done some slightly different feet to go with that Computron. And David, you're absolutely spot on. It's the feet, not the legs and the optical illusion of the stubbornness. It's the actual feet that let it down.
I think it's because the feet are the same color as the shins, whereas all the other combiners, the feet are a different color, so you can tell exactly what they are. Because I've got the Ocular Max Combaticons, and just to combine them basic as is, the feet are made up from Swindle and Bull. So they are the same color as the main bots. If you buy the upgrade kit, then they get little slippers which change the color to silver, and it looks much more natural. And I think that's the problem here. I am sure once people have got it in hand, they'll be perfectly happy. Same as they were perfectly happy when they got their Superions, perfectly happy when they got their big butt Devastators. It's not going to be an issue when
I mean, I was not that sold on the aerial bots, particularly when I got the final two. I thought, oh, they're very small. I combined them up into Superion, and I was actually quite impressed. I've kept it, and I'm happy with it. And I'm looking at this. I think the first image we got of Bruticus was very stumpy. I don't think the image did it justice. Yes, I do think the proportions maybe are a little bit different because he's definitely not skipped chest day, but he has skipped leg day. And I do think poor Squindle is being utterly squashed for his life. But I like it. I like the size of the blast off faux chest thing that's going to be built into the frame. I like the fact that the legs are silver, and as silly as it sounds, I like the fact that they thought to include the color feet in Onslaught rather than anything else. The fact you've got this tiniest yellow strip here and a green strip. I appreciate that, as minor and maybe unnecessary as it sounds. But I like it enough. I think.
If you don't like it, wait another 10 years. There'll be another one.
Oh, just 10 years. All right. I might be dead then.
Yeah, but you might not.
Whoa.
Oh, I could not.
If you are, why do you care?
That's true. Shall we make some waves?
Because it's got stubby legs. You've got bigger things to worry about.
That's true. That is true. Shall we make some waves then? Roberson Soundwave, which has now been officially unveiled, and pre-orders are up for the early bird price of $909, although you will find it for $899 as well. That is till the 4th of Jan. He knows this on the back of his eyelids. And then the full retail price would be, I don't know this bit, 1299, I think it was, 1300, just under. I think it goes into 4 digits. What is everyone's view on this shiny robotic boy?
I think it's nice to see. Sorry, it's nice to see that the line has done well enough. When the first one came out, everybody went, "Oh, that's a really big ticket item. Is it going to be able to sort of sustain itself?" And it is fantastic to see that there are. We've had. What are we up to? Is this the 4th one? Optimus Prime, Megatron, Grimlock.
More than that.
Bumblebee.
You've had 2 Bumblebees. You've had 2 Primes, G1 and a Rise of the Beast type that doesn't transform. Grimlock, Megatron, and now this.
More than that, isn't it? So I think it's it's not for me. It is not the sort of thing I would look to drop that amount of money on. But it is fantastic to see that they are continuing with their success and building on that success. And you've got to hope that there's going to be a multi-pack of cassettes or something coming for little robotic cassettes for those that have invested in this. That'd be amazing to see.
Yeah, I mean, like, go on,
I've had a lot of complaints that something like this even exists, being that it's a very expensive luxury product, given that a lot of people struggle just to get the mainline figures. But that's the strength of the Transformers brand. It can have all these different price ranges within it. It can have all these different products within it, and it will find an audience. I don't think the majority of people who are going to buy this are actually going to be Transformers fans. I think they're just going to be tech people who find this interesting. I've seen more screenshots of influencers I've never even heard of before, because they're just influencers, the big umbrella term, rather than specific Transformers fans who have been given an opportunity to show this off. Because RoboSen is not relying on Transformers fans to sell the units they need to justify making it in the first place. They want everybody who is even slightly interested in a self-transforming Transformer to get on board with it.
Yeah, I do take that point. Like, it's as much of a robotic brand first Transformers. Well, it's not a Transformers brand. It's an outsourced brand. It's a robotic company that's doing got the rights to do a Transformers license. So I can see that argument. I will say, see it in hand, and it will change your orientation on it, because firstly, I'll say when you pick it up, particularly in cassette mode or tape deck mode, it is not as heavy as you might think. Remarkably light. The movements and posability are certainly better than Optimus Prime. So if you've seen that as your previous one, then kind of revamp your ideas of it. It's very cool. Is there maybe a couple of limitations? I'll quickly touch on the cassette because Steve mentioned it, because this has come up a lot, and something that Rocky shared with me when I saw him on Thursday at the store is that Hasbro did want transforming tape cassettes, and RoboSen instantly said we can't do that. We can't physically do self-transforming cassette tapes going down that small. Whatever we do, they will have such limited functionality. It's just not viable. So, and I believe, if I'm remembering this right, but it was certainly what he was saying, that RoboSen will be sending out 3D printed CAD drawings effectively for a customer to then take away and have 3D printed. So you can make your own cassettes. Again, I don't necessarily know if they'll transform or have maybe a physical transformation to them, but it's for the customer to take away and implement should they want to. Now, I think he was saying that to me with the view of that's with the early bird purchases. I don't think that's going to be with every purchase of every Soundwave. I might have misremembered that, but the CAD files to 3D print your own cassettes is something that they want to do, because it's not something that they could engineer along with this figure. So
if I
it is
pick one to buy, and I'm not going to buy one, but if I'd pick one, I would pick Soundwave, because I love Soundwave. But I've already got my Lego Soundwave, who talks to me in Soundwave's voice just as easily, and he doesn't fall over when I switch him off.
Well, I will say this guy, I don't think he falls over. I think he sort of hunches a little bit. But I think a lot of people will be keeping this in cassette mode. So yeah, it's not going to be for everybody, but when you see it in hand, if you get a chance to experience it in the flesh and see it do its all motions, even stupid things like the concussion cannon moving on its own orientation, I didn't expect that. And the fact that you can actually press the play buttons and all of these buttons when it's in cassette mode, it's pretty cool, to actually play your music on and be a bit of a casting device. And of course, voiced by the great Frank Welker. So I'm going the wrong way. We have some last bit of news. Where have I gone with it? Gone the wrong way. Bear with. Yes. Lucky's first color image prototype of their Action Edition Tarn. This looks lovely, and almost, dare I say, identical to the MMC version. Just looking at it now, the thighs are slightly different, but there's really not a lot in it. Really not a lot.
It's very good.
It's again, Tarn is like one of these figures. Yes, Mick, it's going to be Blocky's news. Just strap in.
Poor Mick.
Don't poor Mick that.
I feel for him every time. It's like, oh no.
I'll literally flood his inbox with it. No, so Action Edition, the largest figure that Blockies do. They do take a long time. I think I'm looking at an hour and a half build when I do one of these, because you do the internal skeleton first. Yeah, Tarn is not a character you can mess up, I don't think. I think pretty much every Tarn I've seen, be it in a Blockies or anything else, just looks amazing. I don't think this is any exception. Any thoughts?
Yeah, but it looks great. I've only been getting the larger TF1 Blockies kits because they look really nice. And I doubt we're going to have an entire cast of TF1 in decent figures anytime soon. So not for me, but yeah, that looks really good.
Ian, was it that size class that we were trying to build in the queue at TF Nation?
Yes, it was.
Right.
Yes, we got.
So I was just trying to get the concept.
Yeah, we literally got down to the final leg. The actual.
I can't remember how long that took us.
We did a bit of a speed build with loads of us. We had Dave with us as well, of course. And it was a good way to pass the time when you're just sitting on the floor. That was your good lady who came up with that idea, wasn't it?
No, I think Sam brought it over.
Yeah, Sam wanted you to build it so he could show it off.
Yeah, and then B came over to supervise. I think it's probably the politest way to put that.
Oh yes, you got the fear of God slapped into you. Yeah, so that was quite funny. But yeah, that was a good fun time. Just a great idea that we were just building that while sitting waiting for a queue to go down. But also, and this was very last minute thrown at my attention, potential Beast Wars Blockies at last. Yes. Yeah, he's happy. We're all happy on this call. We've got no Beast Wars haters here, Sam. But yeah, we've got quite a few Beast Wars fans on here with a look at Defender version Beast Wars Megatron. I had no idea this was coming out. So I'm very, very pleased. Yeah. Thoughts, gentlemen?
I'm ecstatic.
Oh, really? I couldn't tell.
Ever since this started, Blockies, and before I got onto Blockies, before I was a convert, I was like, they're really cool, but I'll wait until the Beast Wars ones come out and then I'll get into it. Now, I have all the Blockies now. And
I was going to say, you've dived into
cannot wait for Beast Wars Blockies. I will take a whole box of just Beast Wars Blockies. I imagine they're going to stick them in here and there, rather than give us an entire kit,
yes,
an entire set rather. But all the better. Just bring them, give them to me. Give them as many as you can.
They will.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think we're going to be.
That's the problem. I'm going to have to hunt down all the chases.
Well, that's where AliExpress is your friend.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we will get sort of drop one. If we got Shattered Glass ones going in, IDW ones as well, then yeah, they'll drop them into sets. But there you go.
It's a random nerdy question. Did Megatron ever spit fire?
No, he never did.
But we'll allow it. No, I mean, look, if Grim
in his dragon form he did, but not in his
not as a dinosaur, no. Yeah, but look, if Grimlock and all the other Dinobots and Spitfire will allow it, we'll give him that. But there we go. So that was a very small roundup bit of the news, and not wanting to give Dave double duty anyway. So I would want to do a quiz, and I did have some questions lined up for a quiz. But I wasn't too happy with the questions, and with Spiderfather on the call, I've got to be very careful here and get everything right. So there won't be a quiz. So instead, we'll just go straight into my first topic of discussion for the evening, which is actually one I had from the last live stream that I didn't get to throw in. So it's a bit of a heavy-hitting question, if he does say so himself. If anyone else were to buy the Transformers license, what would they do with it? So let's say that someone else goes up to Hasbro and say, "Oh, look, we've had the Netflix purchase, hostile takeover, whatever you want to call it, of Warner Brothers Studios." Someone could come along with a ton of money and just say, "We're going to buy this license from you." Would anyone try to? And if they did, what would they do with it? That's my question, I suppose, to you all.
They do something with AI, and we'd all be very angry about it.
Yeah, sounds plausible, doesn't it?
And then they maybe try and sell us NFTs again.
Oh, God. You said that's probably the most horrible sentence I think I've ever heard you utter. But it's, yeah, I can see, like, people are saying, like, don't let Disney do it. I'm thinking about things like James Bond purchase and take over. As soon as someone does a purchase, it's like instantly goes into a different direction than what it has been. Of course, you've got a new owner wanting to go their own way, but it was like, so James Bond's been bought by Amazon. There's a young James Bond video game imminently coming out.
But there's been young James Bond before, so that's not like they've decided to do something that they...
It's not groundbreaking, I grind.
James Bond Jr. when I was a young'un.
Oh, I remember it. It wasn't good, but I remember it.
Yeah.
And one of the worst Super Nintendo games ever.
I remember James Pond as well. That was on the Game Gear, and actually that was better.
Yeah, and the sequel, Robocod.
I mean, if they were going to buy it, we're lucky that they would be buying it now, because the reason a lot of our favourite 80s properties haven't had anything done with them was because people like Shuki Levy, who's responsible for so many of our favourite theme tunes in 80s cartoons, actually helped investment groups to buy up the intellectual property rights for those properties, and then they sort of helped other people buy them and sell them and buy them and sell them until they were chopped up in so many different pieces that nobody actually knows who owns these things properly anymore. And if you decided to reboot, I don't know, Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, you probably got half a dozen people who own bits of Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, and unless they all agree on what's happening, it's never going to get a new show or movie or whatever. So hopefully it would be a case that somebody does buy it and they actually want to do something with it rather than stick it in a portfolio and just use it as an asset to balance their financials.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, my thinking is more around someone buying it to go a completely different direction with it, or would they? That's the point. Somebody
does it. Oh, I want it to be really gritty. I want it to be really adult. I want to make something that I can watch, which would be a mistake, because Transformers is first and foremost a kids' property, and you need the kids to get into it to grow up into adults like us who will keep it going. But we've seen what happens when you try and do gritty and then you do it wrong. You end up with Machinima series.
Yes.
So
yeah.
It depends on whether the people who have bought it as a profit-making venture, or if they bought it because they love it. So if we bought it, what would we do with it?
Well, we've already had people in the chat saying they're just going to bring on MicroMasters, but fear not, there's other people out there who will do that for you, called third parties and whatever. Dr. Wu's been, well, I think, to be fair, Dr. Wu is starting to flag, bless him, but that's a case of too much too soon. I do think, like, if we all bounded together and bought it, like, as a consortium, which sounds like an utter legal nightmare, but we'd just be bickering as to what we'd want to do in terms of comics and TVs and whatever. And you get half the people wanting gritty and going lost light on things, which is perfectly fine. But then other people would say, oh, I want the cyber world side of things. And, there's, people have mentioned want to go into Japan. There's the beauty of it being under one umbrella owner, like a Hasbro or a big consortium, big company, not necessarily a consortium, is that they can flit between wherever they like. You start having individual owners, you'll never settle, you'll never agree.
I think the question, what's your dream? What would be the best case scenario if somebody else bought it? Say Amazon got it. Say Amazon got the license to produce something Transformers. What would you want them to do with it?
Go on, gents. I'll throw it up to you first.
David was talking. David, what do you want?
I was just thinking, if somebody like, you know, the way like this is going to sound a bad example to start with, because I'm going to say like how Disney approached Star Wars. Like we've now got like some really serious prestige drama in the vein of Andor. You've got I can't think of the name of it, the one with Jude Law that was very kid focused recently.
Oh, Skeleton Crew.
Yeah, Skeleton Crew. Thank you. And yeah, you've got various cartoons and stuff, and they've been playing unsuccessfully, I think, because they've not really got a roadmap. They're just throwing things out a bit too quickly. But that kind of thing, I think, would work with Transformers. I think you can have your Sins of the Wreckers kind of vibe where everything's really kind of gruesome and stuff. You can have your more tonally all over the place, like more than meets the eye kind of thing. And you could have your kids stuff. I think Transformers, one of the things which we probably all like about it, to be honest, is it's such a versatile brand. Like we've all grown up with so many different iterations that I'd like to see if somebody did take it over properly and cared for it, we'd all be catered for. You'd have your lots of stuff. You wouldn't focus just solely on G1 again and again. It wouldn't be just into like so the grim and gritty thing. They've tried it so many times. It doesn't quite like nobody's nailed it. And I think it's because they all try to go too edgy rather than having a bit of, pardon the word, but humanity or a bit of humor or lightheartedness or something. I think that there's so much balance which you can have with it. It's like because sometimes it's very serious, intense. Sometimes it's stupid. It's like and it's great. I think the care is the thing I would like to see because like as soon as you said like if Amazon bought it, I thought they never care about anything they buy. They just kind of buy it for the name and make something and don't necessarily understand it.
A counter argument to that, although you make a very good point, David, but counter argument, do Hasbro care or do Hasbro just want to make toys? Money, profit.
Yeah. The amount of license, that 3D printed statue thing that's officially got a license, it's hard to feel that Hasbro cares what other people do once they've got their check when you look at those things.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah,
I think it'd be really interesting to see if they didn't do something brand. I mean, we never know what's around the corner. Obviously, you've got all the different as David's quite rightly pointed out. You've got all these different iterations. You've got Cyberverse and RID and the Unicron trilogy and all those things. If somebody say like the Loyal Subjects was to pick it up and did a very collector orientated sort of from the ground up, we're going to give you toys that you've never had before because the molds are lost, damaged, whatever, we're going to rebuild them. Which aspect of Transformers would they pick up and run with? Would they pick up and run with the Unicron trilogy? Would they go, oh, do you know what, we're going to have a sequel to Alternators with new decos and new molds? We're going to have actually too, what we're going to do, we're going to get all the G1 toys that haven't been reissued, we're going to rebuild them from the ground up, and we're going to do those. As David was absolutely spot on, and the word he used was perfect. It's such a versatile brand. There are so many strands to it. It could literally go anywhere. Literally.
Yeah. I mean, just because Guzzy's mentioned it as well around the IP being leased out, this is just it. Talking about leased following the Transformers 1 film and Hasbro saying that they're not going to finance any films anymore. They'll sort of offer out their IP, but you've got to fund it. And it's not to the point I mentioned here of selling the license, completely handing it over. But it's also not a stone's throw away if they're willing to do that now versus bankrolling films. They're warned off by it. Such was the performance, sadly, of Transformers 1 in cinemas, which was an absolute crying shame.
Yeah.
I mean, if whoever buys it, they need a brand leader who is really enthusiastic about the IP and will champion projects that might not necessarily get past the boardroom.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, if I were to put it on anybody in the current environment, he'd need more money. But Robert Kirkman, I think, like through Skybound. I mean, we know we've got a cartoon coming.
Yes.
Well, we
And-
know a cartoon is currently being shopped around for people to give them money to make it. That's
True.
Once they
that's
get
fair.
investors, then they'll
Yeah.
make it, and then it's dependent on how much money they give them. On how I have no doubt that the story will be really good, regardless of how much money they have to actually put it into production. It's just what quality of animation they can use depends on how much money they get given.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because Hasbro ain't going to give them any.
No, such is
No.
again the massive shame. But okay, that was my hangover topic from before, and I thought it was an interesting one to throw out. Who wants to go first with their topic that they are bringing to the table for discussion this evening?
Go on,
Sure.
I'll throw one out.
Go for it.
I prepped my 2 topics as I did my homework, and then I neglected as I took over Bernie's home office to bring anything out with me to sit and point at the camera with. Pocket money toys, and not necessarily, we talk about the cost of toys and we talk about the cost of the figures going up, but when you look back through the brand, you look at some of the successes, the real successes that we can all point to from not a price point, more of a size class. You start talking about things like spy changers, as was mentioned in the chat. I think it was Guzzy with MicroMasters. You look back to Armada and the absolute rip-roaring success that those mini cons were, and Hasbro just don't seem to be able to capture that real kind of entry point, pocket money, price point thing for kids. And I just wondered if any of you guys had any thoughts as to why that may be, or are those kind of toys now dead, and it's all about fast action battlers and one-step changes and so forth?
I mean, I would agree that those days of the Kinder Egg kind of toys, the simple, cheap stuff that probably costs less than £1 to make and probably cost you £2 to buy, they were fun. The simple fun. Finding the original Desert Strike MicroMasters was tremendous fun. Probably got about 5 pins in it, 3 points of articulation, and some of the best fun I've ever had with a Transformer. But when's the last time you saw that from Hasbro on that really shrunk down scale with the Target Masters that they did under Siege? Maybe because that's the closest thing to it.
Yeah.
I can't think of an awful lot else.
Cyberverse. I think Cyberverse was the last time I think that was really successful.
Was that RID 2015?
Well, it started all the way back in the Unicron trilogy days when they called them the Legends of Cybertron, not the little PVC figures, but they were like shrunk down versions of the main toys you could buy. So that if your budget was a lot smaller, you could still have your Optimus Primes and your Jetfires. Then in the movies, they started doing the same thing, but they threw in a couple of original characters. But the best Cyberverse was animated. Because again, it was smaller versions of the bigger toys, but also with a couple of original characters thrown in. You had 2 size classes. So you had the really small ones, then you had the slightly bigger ones, which were the commander class, and then you had play vehicles as well, spaceships and drills and things. And that was like an entire subline, all of its own, sitting next to the main line. So you could still have every character in animated, but small, so that you didn't have to buy all the big expensive figures. But because of the way Hasbro's child or younger Transformers fan oriented lines are these days, we are stuck with things like fast action battlers because everything's got to have a gimmick on top of being a Transformer. And maybe going back to basics is what it needs. Maybe not being so focused on the younger end of the spectrum, because we've got rescue bots for that.
I mean, the one that always sticks out to me, is spy changes, and I appreciate the molds for the spy changes. Obviously, they were G2 toys originally. Obviously, came back with quite a vengeance in RID and Car Robots. I appreciate the molds are long gone, but the engineering is so simple. You could knock spy. You take the fundamental concepts of that engineering, bonnet goes down, car extends, arms pop out. You could knock those out every year. Every year you could have a range of that kind of stuff.
I think with spy changes, though, I think we as collectors, because even when spy changes were popular in RD, I was like 20, 21. So I was buying them because they were Transformers and I wanted them in my Transformers collection. But they're actually designed to sit alongside your Hot Wheels and your Matchbox toys because they had fast axle construction. So they would go,
free wheels, weren't they?
Yeah, so they would go on all those little loop-the-loop tracks and everything. So the kids who, particularly young boys, because back then it was more boy-oriented, would have had something they could use their spy changes with other than just being Transformers. So maybe a little bit of cross-compatibility also is the answer.
That would be good. I will just come up with a couple of points that actually the chat's mentioned. So Guzzy kind of mentioned it around the core class. Hasbro did go in for it, and it, for one reason or another, didn't take off and has more or less been dumped now. And I suppose you'd say as well, we're back to blockies again, if for no other reason for the wheels kit that they've done recently with the little cars and vehicles, but not transformable, but to have on that small pocket money toys, as you say. Yeah, it just doesn't seem to be. Go on, David.
What was the RRP for the core class Transformers?
$10.99.
Was it as much as that?
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's they were
definitely north of a tenner.
Yeah, and that's kind of the problem. I think that back. I mean, I know everything's more expensive now because everything's gone to hell. But you think like back when we were kids. You could go to a supermarket and you could have, say, like one of the mini Autobots, so like a cliff jumper or something. They would be cheap enough that your parents could go like, okay, yeah, fine, like I'll buy you one of these, and it was like a nice disposable, quick impulse purchase. And I think once you go like above a tenner, you're going like, okay, well, let's have a look and see what else there is, and you'll pause for a second. I think certainly as a parent, you can't afford to just every time you go to a shop to say, okay, yeah, hey, here you go, kids. Yeah, you're not going to start doing that. Whereas I think they were just overpriced. I think the core class stuff may have done a bit better if had it been a bit more reasonably priced. So even if you're pushing £7, I think people might go like, yeah, okay. Psychologically, it needs to be less than 10. It can't be that high. And then also, it kind of felt like with the core class characters on the whole, they were pitching to all of us.
Yes,
like the character selection, it was all like deep cut references. You got like Beast Machine's Cheetor and stuff.
There's the
best Beast Machine's Cheetor toy ever made.
That's not saying much, Lee, and you know it.
There wasn't a high bar there.
I do wonder how, because I do wonder how much the stores are to blame for this, because I don't know. Well, in America, it's very hard to find new releases in store, because if you're on social media, you'll see our American friends constantly taking pictures of a Walmart or a Target Transformer section, which is bare of anything apart from things that came out a year or two ago. But I know that in the UK, shops like Smith's didn't bother stocking Micromasters, Battlemasters, anything like that. You couldn't find them in shops. And I wonder if that's because they are looking to fill the shelves with the products which are going to give them the highest return. And they don't care if the kid who's only got a little bit of pocket money can't find something they want in the Transformers line, because they're going to get more profit off of a Deluxe or a Voyager.
It might be that down to what they get for wholesale, what they can sell at retail, sure. But I think David's got a very good point around the pricing of the core class. Honestly, I thought the core class figures were naff. I didn't feel they offered much in way of anything, to the point is like, if I'm dropping 10, I'll stick on another 5 or 7, 8, whatever more, and I'll go to a Deluxe. At least I'm getting a bit more bang for my buck, starting to anyway. But I felt the core classes, as you say, really good point around, you'd had the most obscure figures. Soundwave was the best one, if I remember rightly, and the Megatron was abysmal. Starscream was pretty poor as well. And it just got to a point of, all right, well, what are you doing? And as you say, if it's like, under a tenner, you wouldn't cry. You've wasted £6-7 quid. But no, you've dropped a tenner and you've got something that's naff. And to the point that you mentioned, Lee, around other retailers not taking them on, I think you're right about that. I do think that also goes a bit too much the other way, because we know the likes of Smiths won't stock Titans, but that's because they get marked down in price and then they don't make the profit themselves. So it kind of works on two extreme ends of the scale spectrum.
You just mentioned Starscream and Megatron. Go all the way back to 2010 when we had the Hunt for the Shield. The Megatron that they released then that actually turned into a gun. I'm not expecting them to make a gun Megatron in the modern age, but that is such a fun toy. And the Starscream as well is a better Starscream than the one we're getting now. The Jazz, the Hound, the Blue Streak, the Optimus Prime, all of them are still really great fiddle formers. And I think they're more successful at being a small, enjoyable toy than anything core class managed.
No, fair enough. Yeah. I think it was those days, I'm afraid, Steve, of pocket money toys and the Micro Masters back in the day that were simple fun that probably cost you less than $5.
I mean, Bot-Bots were the epitome of the pocket money toy, because you could buy them as a blind, unfortunately, blind pack singles, and you'd have a little transformer.
I've got one up there. It turns into a piano.
Yeah,
actually,
that's a really great point. I'd completely forgotten about Bot-Bots.
And they got a TV show long after the line had ended. In Hasbro's usual, let's marry up releasing a toy and a show at the same time. They're so experienced in messing that up. But that was the way to do it. Have a show, have a toy. Yeah. But the show model is dead.
Well, it's as dead as you want to make it, and as you throw out a load of tripe like the Netflix series, then you get what you pay for.
I'm enjoying Cyberworld for what it is.
I still need to watch it, to be fair.
But I watched the latest episode today, and it ended on a bit of a cliffhanger, which I was surprised by. So,
okay, interesting. All right, who wants to go next with their topic of discussion? Don't make me pick on you, David.
Okay. No. That was really weird. I just wanted to say something, and two voices said my name at the same time, and it was not the ones in my head for a change.
For once.
Okay. So let's go a different tack. Let's say, we're going to go, because as Ian and I always tend to do, we veer off down the Beast Wars path at some point. So if you take yourself back to Beast Wars, we had Ravage got introduced. Like the original G1 Ravage got incorporated.
Not that Ravage.
Not that one.
I suppose that Ravage. Hashtag not my Ravage.
It in a very, very clever way. And it really got me. I really got so into those episodes because it was just such a smart idea way incorporating things. And so I thought, like, if you were to pick, what other characters would you do a similar thing to bring them into Beast Wars? Like, what established character would you bring in? And why? I'll give you an example to start, because obviously I thought of this previously. I'd probably go for, say, Ultra Magnus, because I was thinking of, like, rather than just like which is your favorite character or something, I thought, what didn't they have in the show? Because Ravage brought like a whole new element to things, and I thought if you had Ultra Magnus, you finally have the Maximals were a nice group who worked fairly well together, but they were mostly scientists. I think right until Depth Charge turned up, there weren't any real fighters. I mean, Dinobot wasn't.
And don't forget that the Beast Wars character, the Maximals that we saw, were a mile away from the Maximal Elders, who were deep state Machiavellian political.
People. Yes, yeah. I'd like to see like somebody like Magnus, like a proper soldier, or maybe even Cup. Like somebody who could come in.
Please just let me die.
Yeah, even just like oh, this shit. You'd be like, okay, I've got to tell you how to do this. This is going to drive me nuts. But I thought that could add an interesting mix, because you had, like, Cheetor was always running off and very young and exuberant. Like Rhinox and Primal were very much scientists at heart. And I thought that would have to have somebody who was like disciplined and a soldier, and who could bring a very different element to the war. And then on the other side of things, I thought with the Predacons, they were either idiots, mostly idiots,
Most of them are.
but or they.
Let me introduce you to Waspinator.
Exactly, yeah. Waspinator, Scorponok, Pterosaur. I mean,
Pterosaur, Inferno.
Not all of them were idiots.
No, not all of them. But that was going to be my second point. Was that the ones who weren't, basically your spiders, were schemers, and they were very much against Megatron. So he basically had no reliable team for the duration. Like even Rampage, who was only literally in his hand because he had his spark. So I thought,
and technically a maximal.
Yeah, and so I thought let's have Soundwave. I thought it'd be really interesting to have a competent Decepticon come down and help out because he's following the G1 Megatron scheme, and I thought that would have an interesting thing, like how that would change the balance of power in the stories.
Okay, all right. So I'll pick in first then around which Autobot or Transformer in general, but I like the idea of Magnus coming in, but I can see Magnus following a similar path to Depth Charge of just sort of coming in and just being very kind of like very seasoned warrior because Depth Charge comes in and very much is looking down at Primal, very kind of. I remember one of the lines, I've got to give it to you, Primal, when you screw up big. And I can see Magnus coming out with a similar line, like you've let this go to hell. But I would go on, I suppose, a bit of a similar path, but I would like the idea of Jazz coming down because he's enough to be, he's cool. He's any continuity Jazz is cool. But he would still have that special ops one-man army kind of SAS mentality to him. And I was just like, yeah, I'd like to throw you into the Beast Wars. And then Cheetor would be, Ratchet would be like, oh man, we got nothing on this guy. So we can't keep up with him. For Predacons, Shockwave. Particularly now we've seen him with his killer whale mode or whatever. Like, yeah, throw Shockwave in there and just really make it. Because the Predacons have a form of being so silly it's comical, and I know that was part of its charm in a way.
Oh yeah,
but really, you felt Megatron had to carry the evil because the rest was so bumbling and stupid. Like when the Quick Strike came in, that didn't help. But you need someone who's really evil to kind of tip it in. And obviously, Rampage helped that, but yeah, we got Mixay Grimlock. That did happen, albeit in comic form. Did make an appearance. G1 Grimlock against, oh my god, the name's gone out my head, Magmatron. But yeah, that's my trope. Nice question there for that. Anyone else want to have a take? Which character would they introduce?
I would, and this is because when Prime was talking about the Decepticons, he says most of them have retired. I would pick Thundercracker. And I would think he's gone into seclusion. He's retired. He doesn't want anything to do with any kind of plots that the Predacons are up to. But because he's a Decepticon, because he's one of the Seekers, because he was under the original Megatron, and this is assuming in an alternate timeline where he doesn't get turned into anybody, he just wants to be left alone. Yet he's constantly being harassed by fans and hero worshippers, and he just wants to be left alone. So maybe he arrives looking for a bit of seclusion, and then he gets all wrapped up in what's going on, and in the end he just goes with the Maximals. He just said, look, I think the way things are much better than the way things used to be.
Nice.
Yeah, fair point. Go on then, Steve.
So I think potentially it says more about me than it does about Dave's question rather with the examples I've come up with, because now I want to see Cheetor and Hot Rod left alone unsupervised just to see what would happen.
Well, we did have that in not in Beast era, but we had that that was Cyberverse, wasn't it? When you have I'm trying to remember the scene. They're going on like this highway and it's. Was it that? Or I think so.
Let's blur it as well.
Yeah, you had three of them. Yeah. Wasn't that Cheetor in vehicle mode? Am I getting my wires crossed?
Was a Cheetor in
in Cyberverse.
I can see
he has turned into a car.
I can see Cheetor really looking up to Hot Rod, but because Hot Rod's been Rodimus Prime and now he's back to being Hot Rod again, he'll be like, "Don't try and grow up too fast. Just enjoy not having any responsibilities, being young, being free, because as soon as you start growing up, it will just go too fast.
Yeah. I'd also like to see Rat Trap getting constantly infuriated with Wheelie. That would be amazing.
Well, we all have. So I mean, who would put the two of them in the same room?
I would.
Yeah,
and for the pièce de résistance, Beast Wars Wreckers. How has that not been a thing? Beast Wars Wreckers, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, no, that'd be
That's
cool.
true.
Well,
that'd be very good.
Something to maybe look at for another chat is make a roster of Wreckers, but just from Beast Wars characters. So all G1 characters are gone. So who's in charge of the Wreckers now? Who's part of the Wreckers, and what's their damage?
Well, that's when you have to go into like the expanded source book comic of Beast Wars. So you've got a lot to choose from.
A good time.
Open a glass of wine, and we'll still get the book out.
Have any of you got the Sideswipe and the Hot Rod Beast figures that were done by a couple of different third parties?
That was the generation toy, the bull one.
Yeah,
Ancestor Rod, the tiger, wasn't it?
Because they were based on those concepts that somebody did, and there were so many good concepts in that book of G1 versions of Beast Wars characters. I just wish we'd got more of those.
I need to find this book.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't know that existed. That's really cool.
It's not a stone's throw to think that you could have G1 characters go on, because I've said it flippantly before. Beast Wars is Generation 3. It's just a very long way in the future, but it still could happen. And there's been time travel shenanigans before. Who's to say you can't throw a G1 or G2 character into the mix and have them interjecting into the war, which obviously makes it a bit hard because they go back in time, find the Ark all crashed. So that would make things a bit tricky. But yeah, Ravage was a great inclusion in season 3. So to just get a little drop in is something we could have seen more of. And I think if you got a Soundwave, Shockwave, I think, okay. And of course, we did get Starscream as well.
Yeah.
Possession episode, which we will be covering on the That's Just Prime and Beast Wars podcast very soon. There's my plug. Hi, Chris. How you doing? Okay. Thank you for that, David. Lee, the floor is yours for your topic.
Mine is a simple one. What is your favorite Unicorn Trilogy recolor? And I say easy. There are so many good recolors in Unicorn Trilogy, particularly when you look at the molds and what people like BotCon did with them. So I couldn't actually pick one that I really, really liked as the best. So I picked a character who I think shows off a really good attitude to repainting a Unicorn Trilogy toy, which is Energon Powerlinks Jetfire.
That is nice.
So we all know Jetfire's traditional colours, which are white and red with a bit of blue and black. And this wasn't particularly based on any G1 character, because back then, what a lot of younger collectors don't realise is there was no G1 stuff. For the longest time, the best we got was a recolor of a character who maybe used the same name, but who wasn't that character. So when you took one of those characters that was essentially a homage to a G1 character, and then you give him colours that have never been used before or since, and it just looks lovely. The navy blue, the white, and the orange, and the splashes of red. Beautiful. I wish that we would get some of these in Chug.
That would be cool, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Also, that's a recolor. I'm just showing it off as much as I can. It's the Shattered Glass Megatron. There we are.
Which you got at TF Nation, yes?
Yes, got a TF Nation Made in Minicom. I walked away from it. I did try and not buy it, but I wasn't strong enough.
You gave in to your urges. No, I would say for me, it's a cliche, but Starscream, blue Starscream. I only say that because
that's Super Starscream from Armada.
Yes, it's as much more noble for his death scene in the end, and it's made iconic where he's blue, and it feels like, as I say, we so very rarely see Starscream do the right thing, and the fact he does a noble sacrifice, it's made that paint scheme to me so iconic because of that end scene. Also, how it goes into IDW, where you see what he could be if he wasn't constructed cold, and it was a similar but different, but it was still a blue Starscream. So I look at that as kind of like a like a Shattered Glass Starscream. Of course, Shattered Glass Starscream's white and with a hint of red, but I like to see that as like a pure Starscream, because it's so very rarely does he do the right thing, just here and there. And so yeah, blue Starscream is probably would be my favorite. Plus the Armada Starscream design is a brilliant design anyway. Is on par with G1 design as much as anything else. But there's a lot in there. Like Megatron into Galvatron was just as good. Yeah, there's a lot of lovely recolors of some absolute banging toys as well.
Do you know what's really funny? Lee opened by saying this was like a really simple question.
Then I said it wasn't.
For me, I've never had a question throw me quite so much.
He's so stumped.
I read this. I was like, oh hell, because I kind of missed a lot of the Unicron trilogy stuff. I saw bits and pieces of it on TV, but I was busy at college, so I was kind of coming back and forwards. So I didn't really have much of a background in this. But I've looked, and the one I would pick is Energon's Six Shot, which it's purely not because of the character, because I've actually kind of I googled a few clips of the character, and he's quite high pitched and irksome. But I love seeing it was a recolor of Shock Blast, which again, like Lee said, for a long time we didn't have. A lot of the characters never were it's hard to think of now because we're just bombarded with them all the time. But Shockwave was quite a niche character back then, to the point Hasbro had lost the name and it became Shock Blast. And Six Shot was the brother of Shock Blast. And so he's this kind of weird color scheme, which kind of works. I find it oddly...
Very G2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he looks like that, and his toy looks even more like there's a slight yellow tinge to where the green parts are there. And there was something kind of, it was weird seeing what for my brain was a Shockwave recolor with such a drastic difference, which did work really well. And I thought it's kind of ugly and repulsive, but at the same time, I liked it.
It's probably what, if it weren't for the head, you'd almost say it's Scorponok, because it's Scorponok colors, isn't it? G1 Scorponok. Yeah. Or closer to Demolisher with the treads at the bottom there. It's actually just got, realised he's got Tarn's gun on his left arm as you look at it. Yeah. I never really took that. But if it isn't for the Cyclops eye, you wouldn't really think to know. But
no.
That's actually something I want to bring up as a point one day, is around how you go from losing the name Shockwave to the point that you have to just call it something similar but different. But yeah, I think that's a really strong choice, because it is Shockwave to look at, but it's a bit like with Ruination. It's just Bruticus in very, very G2E colors, isn't it? But it was classed as a different character.
I think it helps with Ruination, because Ruination was always drawn based on the toys, whereas the Compagons always had that very abstract.
Yeah,
they had
camouflage color. Yeah,
Swindle now, the way he is in his most recent toy, which is the first time Hasbro's ever done that.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Steve, have you gone with your one?
I have. And it's not just a repaint, my one, or a deco choice. It's a concept that Hasbro haven't revisited again, which I think they should. So my one is Energon Checkpoint. For anybody that knows Energon Checkpoint, I can see Lee nodding away because Lee knows everything.
I almost picked him up and brought him up here to show off, but no, I thought I won't flex too much tonight.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know, Ian, if you can pull the pic off the wiki and share it real quick.
I'm doing this. Is this the Rodimus one?
Yeah, so it's a police themed SWAT truck repaint of Rodimus. Now, firstly, you can't go wrong with an emergency services deco because they just always look smart as anything. And secondly, Checkpoint for me is something that actually Hasbro should have continued on with, utilizing Rodimus, using him as Checkpoint. So could you imagine Kingdom Rodimus decked out as a SWAT truck? Would be amazing, and I would totally buy
that would
out of that.
Steve,
that would be.
So, did you not see the Earthspark Checkpoint?
No,
because they released Prowl in Earthspark, but they used the Cyberverse Rodimus Deluxe mold. So it's Rodimus in police colours. He just looks like another Checkpoint.
Really? Oh, I don't know. I thought Prowl got binned in Earthspark, the toy. I thought it was a toy that got announced.
Came in later, didn't he?
Toy. We got a deluxe Rodimus as Prowl, which is why he's coloured like Checkpoint.
God damn it!
How to be another labelled? Sound the enable alarm.
I've
twice in a day.
Yeah, already called you out this morning.
Well, you shouldn't be so fragile, should you? But this toy that I've got on screen, that's brilliant. That is, Hasbro slept on this a little bit because it was a great design for the character. It kind of made Rodimus cool. I don't know, maybe I'm being a bit unkind to say that, but he wasn't exactly Mr. Popular. Following his time in G1,
it's not just the deco for me. It's the concept. The character of Checkpoint hasn't really continued on through as a concept, and quite frankly, every Rodimus toy should be getting a Checkpoint repaint.
Well, you're in luck.
Oh, God damn it, Ian.
Hey, I didn't do it. That's not my screen. That's Mr. Father, the father of enabling. He's so happy with himself.
I wish this would happen to. It's happened already.
It's happened, and now I need to play it.
You've got your wish, mate. What's wrong? Look, Christmas is coming.
It's on Amazon UK now, and it is not massively inflated in price.
There you go.
Watching a man break in real time.
I know, it's great. If you want to see Steve break in real time, press B in the chat.
No, don't put B in the chat when it comes to spending money. No, please don't.
Hi, B. please, I hope you're watching. I really do. Bless you. But right. Onto that one, and I'm really glad you brought that up as a topic, Lee, because if for no other reason to watch Steve wince and cry.
Squirm.
Yeah. Okay. On to my second topic of discussion for the evening. Transformers lore, books, and novels. Now, a certain enabler in this four-way discussion has got me into another fandom, another hobby. Some certain person has got me into another hobby. that is
not me.
That was a good little feature. Yes, Warhammer 40k has got me back into that. So I'm painting loads of little miniatures. And of course, it is rife. Is that another one you're going to send me?
No, well, you wouldn't want this. This is skeletons.
No, probably not. So there's a ton of lore books to it, and people who are, I imagine, and Lee, you might have to keep me honest here, they're given permission to write lore, or is it just the fact if someone wants to write a novel on it, they don't have to have any
Games
rights
Workshop
or blessing?
has its own publishing company called Black Library.
Right.
So they control
of course, yes.
all the novels and all the lore that goes out.
So they have their reins to do it.
Yeah, so a writer can pitch something and they'll decide if they want to go ahead with it, or if there's a big thing happening, like the Horus Heresy, they'll create a massive 70+ novel series on that lasts years.
Oh, they do huge backstories to it, and not just with Warhammer, of course, but also Star Wars. There's a plethora of books out there going into the wider corners of the galaxy and untold amounts. Is that something that could be brought to Transformers? Because let's be honest, we've got a lot of history. We've got a lot. You think you could do? Think of anything. Think of the things that we've spoken about on this stream alone. But you could do, if you wanted to do an origin story on Nebulos just before the Autobots got there in season 4, you could. If you wanted to do life after season 4 and what happens to Galvatron without going in too much into the Japanese continuity, you could. So is it something that you could give to an author, and say, go on then, write a novel, write a fan fiction?
I mean, we did have this. We did have this. I mean, IDW had a series of novels written which tied into their comics. I can remember there being at least 3. Exiles was one of them. Exiles was the Aligned continuity. So the Aligned continuity had novels which took you from the end of Fall of Cybertron, the video game, to the beginning of Prime. So it has been done before, but it was very much done as a marketing exercise, and the authors that they got to do it were people who wrote stories for other franchises. So they were given the job, they'd look at it, and then they'd write a novel. There isn't something like with the Black Library where you've got someone who's really into the lore of the thing and they've got a really good idea for a story and they want to write that story. That would be great.
Yeah, so I think, too, as you mentioned with the Aligned continuity, my interpretation of that is to be that was very much to be a bridge between a gap. It's like to plug a gap between a gap in the stories, the continuity that Hasbro had at the time. Whereas I say for something like this could just be any of us here who could write particularly long and detailed stories, having a passion to go off and kind of do their own tangent things. As I say, you look at some of the Star Wars books that come out, they don't necessarily follow Luke, Leia. I remember reading stuff about, okay, well, it was the main characters, but it was after Return of the Jedi, way before any other series came out, and it was to show Luke training Leia in the Force after Episode 6. So very good. Very good.
That was a really good trilogy, Timothy Zahn.
Yeah. So
that stuff's gone on to actually be part of the proper Star Wars,
right?
As well.
Yeah. But is that something that we could do in Transformers? Not to be a bridge of existing media, but more or less just fans saying, "Hey, I want to just write on my own little corner here and take a fragment of a storyline and grow it into my own little world."
Yes, I think there is, and it's happened before because a lot of the people like Nick Roach and James Roberts, that's how they started with TFUK. Back in the old days, after the Marvel comic finished and the fanzine era, that's where they got started. They were doing they were carrying on after the comic left. They were writing stories and creating characters, which eventually they've incorporated into their professional work. But we did have a novel that did exactly what you're saying in 2004, which was Transformers Legends, and it had a bunch of stories in it from all the different continuities, which were little one-shots, self-contained things by different authors. And one of them, my favorite one, was actually set in Beast Wars, where G1 Megatron tried to take control of Beast Megatron because his spark being inside Transmetal 2 Megatron.
Oh, yes.
And that was a great story. I think Quick Strike managed to save Megatron in the end. Not that it helped him in his trial in the TV show, but absolutely. It was a shame that they didn't do more because there were quite a few interesting takes. But I think as fans, there's nothing stopping us from arranging something. I mean, like David's been part of Thunder Clash Goes Bananas.
Yeah,
very true. Yeah,
Those
yeah,
sort of
yeah.
things exist.
yeah.
So whether we need it to be official or not, I don't think it matters. I think if there's enough of us out there that want to do it, we can make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak to what's going on now as far as like fan fiction and stuff, but as a fun bit of trivia, Chris McFeely and I first came across paths back in about 98, 99, when we were doing a fan fiction group, which posited from, do you remember the original comic issue 3, Spider-Man turns up and interacts with the Transformers. So we did this whole shared universe where we all wrote a different book about if the Marvel Universe and Transformers actually continued to interact. And we did that. And that's how Chris and I first met. And it was kind of funny. But no, I mean, there's so much fan fiction out there, which really, some of them will get really deep dives. There was a slight tangent. There was a really funny one called, I think it was Transformers World's Worst. It used to be called, where they were bad comedy versions. And somebody did the plot of Transformers the movie, but if Outback ended up on Hot Rod Shuttle with the Dinobots, and Outback spoke in terribly cliched Australian nonsense, and it was complete parody, and it was really good fun. But no, my point is there was so much at that time, and I'm assuming there still is around certain parts. It's just I've left those kind of fields, like of people who really treated it seriously, really looked into the lore and fan fiction. But granted, at the time that was being written, we didn't have much like we do now.
I think that's as much it, isn't it? Because you're possibly talking sort of what early years of 2000s, maybe around that sort of time. So that Transformers were not exactly flourishing at that point. Plus, the internet was still somewhat limited as to what platforms. Obviously, before the social media was on such a wide uptake, so it was very piecemeal. But that kind of bores the best of it, I suppose. Whereas now we've got all manner of things: mobile games, comics, licenses, and going into films and stories, all the rest of it. But I remember some of those Star Wars books that I saw, and getting back into 40K, and I was looking at just the ridiculous amount of lore that's there, and I thought, well, Transformers could do that, and God knows we carry enough knowledge on it. Because if I dare say something wrong in my videos, my God, they come for me.
Thing is, with like 40K and Star Wars, they are homogenous lore. They haven't changed. They haven't rebooted. It's not like something like Marvel and Transformers, where every few years a new continuity comes along. So yes, we have got 40 years worth of lore, but that's all split up and all over the place a little bit. Does anyone remember the one-page comics that fans were doing during IDW that picked up on little story threads? I can't remember what it was called.
That rings a bell.
Mosaic ones.
What was it?
Not the Mosaic ones, no.
Yes, Mosaic.
It was those.
Yes. They were really good. And they were all, it was just a group of fans getting together and pitching ideas and then creating a little one-page comic. It would say, oh, how did Hunter eventually die after the burn or the purge, or whatever they called it. So yeah, that would be really good. But don't forget the first fan-written Transformers novel, Eugenesis, by James Roberts, which
of course
was which contained a lot of stuff that eventually found its way into IDW, like Rung, stuff like that. So it's possible. If you want to do it, go out and do it. Find some like-minded people. We can make it happen.
Well, definitely do so. I mean, you've got fans out there with a tremendous, sickening likability, as our dear friend Mr. David here, talent coming out of his ears. You've got these abilities to do so and the passion to do so. So if someone wants to do it, I think it's not to say that, oh, just because it's official, it's heartless, but I guess it comes from a much deeper place of love if it comes from a member of the fandom, if you see what I'm getting at. But all right, well, that was my rant, tangent, and somewhat endless point. Who wants to go next? Go on, mix it up. Anyone? I'll pick on someone. I'll do it. Lee,
You will.
What are we doing? What am I doing?
Your second topic.
Oh yes, my second topic, which I remember, and I'm going to talk about right this very second. Once I've reminded myself what it was.
Filling for time. Filling for time.
I am feeling bad. By the way, I was showing off Shattered Glass.
Stop stalling.
Do
you want me to go to
dead air? Do you want dead air? Because that's what you're going to get.
I haven't got Chris here to trim it out for me. So would you like me to go to somebody else?
I can go now. I can go now. That's fine.
Go on.
Oh no, I remember now.
Oh, here we go.
Right.
Okay.
So
Rude.
we last year we had the 40th anniversary of G1. We're just weeks away from going into the year where we're going to have the 40th anniversary of the G1 movie. In between those, we've had other franchises have their big 20th anniversaries come and go with barely a whimper from Hasbro. So which big milestone would you like to see Hasbro give the amount of support that they gave G1?
So are you thinking Transformers, or are you expanding out to
Transformers? I would say Beast Wars did get a bunch of figures, and it did get a bit in the Machinima series, which we'd rather not think about. But I think Beast Machine probably needs a bit of a revisit and a bit of celebrating, because as maligned as it was when it came out, I think time has been kinder to it than a great many other series.
I'd agree. So I could bang on about Beast Wars all day, every day, and I've got a podcast for that, so that's fine. But I would say, from meeting people at conventions, there's a lot of fans of the Unicron trilogy out there, and there's a lot of fans from Transformers Prime. But Transformers Prime wasn't necessarily my thing, but they're coming up to Masters now. Get my time right. Prime's 10 years old. 15, 10.
2027 will be the 20th anniversary of the first Bay movie. I know that much.
Prime was 2012.
Yeah, because it came after the live action movie.
Okay, so we're over 10 at least. So yeah, you've got people in that who want to have like those milestones achieved. I think you're right. Like, look, I felt, and I've said this before, and not to sound like a broken record, I think Hasbro did a very middle of the road 40-year anniversary for G1. I thought there was some fanfare towards it. I like Transformers Day, but it wasn't as push the boat out as it could have been. Beast Wars has had maybe something for 25-ish with a few retro toy re-releases, but that's more or less it. You're not going to see a DVD collection re-released anytime soon, whereas you've seen that with other franchises outside of Hasbro. They'll do a 15-year edition, 20-year edition, Steelbook edition. So yeah, I think Unicron Trilogy and Prime, they have real big sources in the fandom. There's a lot of people I meet who, younger than myself, grew up with that. That was their G1, and they're hitting milestones. I feel for them, because they're carrying the fandom as much as we are, as much as us old sods. You know, they're still dragging it along from their mid-age, as it were. So I'd like to see them get their time in the sun, because hey, they deserve it just as much as G1 does, Beast Wars does, and anything else. So yeah, I'd like to see a bit more love towards Unicron trilogy, because that got Transformers through some dark times. That was not a popular time for Transformers, and you know, same with Brandon, who you all know, and how much he loves the Bayverse films of 2007. You know, that's, as you say, that's only a couple of years away from 20 years. My God. But that's horrible, isn't it? That's really horrible.
That caused psychic damage.
You mentioned Prime. Prime did get a 10-year anniversary. Hasbro did actually do something when they released the Breakdown Viacom 2-pack and the Hades Megatron. So they actually released toys in the West that the West hadn't had before.
In 10th anniversary themed packaging as well.
Exactly.
Okay,
it was a bit truncated.
But it was a very. It's going to sound like I'm it's going to sound like I'm sort of complaining. The fact that those molds come in breakdown used to fetch huge sums on the secondary market, absolutely huge sums on the secondary market. And the fact that Hasbro were able to pick that up and run with it and bring it across to their domestic market was fantastic. But it really did feel like there's your 10th anniversary stuff. Crack on. It was very, very much a one and done.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I feel Hasbro treat anniversaries. It's not that big on their agenda, if you know what I mean. And I just think I feel for fans who have just look. I think we have to say, what do we expect to see? What fanfare do we want? Short of for the G1 film to be released in cinemas. Yeah, fabulous, absolutely fabulous, and that's really what we should be absolutely championing for. But if you're Hasbro are primarily a toy company, although they're going into the digital marketing now. All they can do, I guess, and I don't want to say it because it sounds like I'm conceding defeat, all they can do is re-release toys in ceremonial packaging. What else could they do? What else do people expect? But I don't know. Could there be an animated, a Prime separate comic? I know there have been, but to do a bit more than just simply re-release toys and say, oh, it's 10 years, it's 15 years. Because I feel like some other toy lines and parts of the fandom just miss out. I think that's a real shame.
I think the danger is, and again we've touched this a couple of times this evening, because Transformers is such a rebooted brand. If you're not careful, every year's an anniversary for something. And I think Hasbro would the danger for I understand last year 40th anniversary, and they very much played it. It's not the 40th anniversary of G1; it's the 40th anniversary of the franchise. So you look ahead to 2026, which is depressingly only a matter of weeks away. And the question would then be for Hasbro, and I appreciate what the answer would be from the people on this stream. Do you run with the 40th anniversary of the G1 movie, or do you run with the 30th anniversary of Beast Wars? What products do you?
You're asking the wrong people there, Steve.
No, I know.
We won't give you the popular answer,
but we will give you the right answer.
but from a marketing perspective, from Hasbro's perspective, looking at it very corporately, those anniversaries must be quite problematic as to how they do that. I appreciate there are some biggies. Yeah, do you know what? We absolutely should be plucking those 20th and 25th and those kind of milestone styled anniversaries out. But if they're not careful, there would almost always be something.
Yeah, I get that, like making a rod for your own back. I mean, it's a nice problem to have, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, you got all these things that have been supported rigorously, refuse to die, and you keep bringing out stuff, and oh dear, we're going to do another celebrity edition because it's, like, oh, Crimea River. There's many of other things that haven't lasted this long. But I get your point. Like, you start tripping over victims of your own success. I don't know. I think you make a very good point. It's not 40 years of G1. It's 40 years of Transformers. They're very much like to group it all as one solid thing. But people,
they released 19 Optimus Prime toys in 2024, the majority of which were G1 themed for the 40th anniversary of the entire franchise. So whatever it is, Hasbro will lean more towards that G1 evergreen style Optimus for their flagship product for whatever they're doing.
I get that, but we're not going to be around forever. And there's just as many younger fans out there with other strands of the fandom who get their own bit.
I mean, if TF Nation is now the average age of an attendee is 21, that just shows that other younger people are coming into where we did when we were younger, when we were young men, and we were getting into our nostalgia fix, and we wanted to Transformer stuff everywhere. It's there.
I had a lot less grey.
I had hair.
Yeah. I had a lot more black.
Did you?
Once upon a time.
Yeah, it's. I don't know. I just seeing people. I think the TF Nation line is a really good one, saying the average age has just come down. I mean, that's got to be your market research if ever you've seen it. You know, conventions not just being filled with 40, 50-year-olds, quite a reverse. And I'm like, well, you know, get the voice actors
Not
in,
just
which
men.
they are, of course. No,
Not just men.
no. But I think that's brilliant thing. I really do like that, because that kind of that coming away from the line of girls don't play with toys, referencing to RC back in G1, to what we have now. I love that, the chasm that's crossed. That's
everywhere.
Night and day difference.
That's everywhere. I mean, I've been a hobbyist for 30 years, and I've been working in the war games industry for 13 years. And when I started working, it was all men. Now there are women in every department of the company where I work. There are women in leadership roles in the company where I work. At every level, there are now almost as many women as men working in the industry, and they're fans and they're hobbyists as well. So I think it's a wider reflection of society where we have these traditionally male-oriented pastimes are now much broader in their appeal. And that's only good, because
of course
we may not like the movies that much, but they brought in so many people and so much money. That's why we've still got it today. That's why we're getting missing links, and why we're getting chug still, because it's now a feature of popular culture rather than being a niche.
Oh, without question. Cool. Good topic. Good chat. I like that. David, do you want to have a go with yours?
I do. Okay, so we've all got this, and everybody in the chat will have this as well. What is a toy that you love despite the fact it was objectively bad? I will obviously go first with my example. Is Carnivac from G1. Carnivac was, for those who don't know, was a pretender, which meant it was a small, not that well built transformer inside a static plastic shell that didn't really do anything. And I've got two kind of reasons. I don't know why the toy kind of fascinated me. And I don't know whether it's because it was like a big wolf with a gun, and for some reason, something about that was appealing. The wolf didn't move. There was no posability with it whatsoever. It was just a shell. That was it. It did nothing. And when you took out the robot inside, Carnivac, he was bad too. He had this jaw which was like it just broke. It's like it just went down. It wasn't like a proper jaw. It just like fell flat. Like he would lose all his food if he ate something. When you turned him into a robot, good lord, that thing. The legs. You talk about kibble in any toy. Carnivac's legs were absurd. He had like two long legs, which kind of, you tried to angle them as best you could to hide them, but there was no hiding them. They were most of the toy. But I was fascinated with that toy, and I think I will say that there's definitely a large part of this would be down to the Marvel UK comics, because Carnivac had a good UK based story where
very much so.
He was a redeemed villain basically, and it was a very, very good plot line, and I enjoyed it a lot. But yeah, I mean, you look at this toy. Do you know what? That photo is very flattering because they have taken that the best possible angle. They've
That's a great condition.
Yeah, they've hidden those legs on the shoulders very, very well, because that is not what it looks like from every single other degree you view this from. That's amazing. That's the best possible view for that toy.
Don't lose your steam now, David. You keep going on that hateful trope.
but yeah, it was that it was that. I think we've all got some character, and Lee knows because I was discussing it the other day. I was thinking about which toy to get, and sure enough, I've asked somebody for a present for the Carnivac re-release that came out. Not the re-release, the repaint of Werewolf. But yeah, it's like that character's always stuck with me for some reason, and so I was wondering what everybody else's characters are. Where the toy was actually bad, but you still loved it.
Toy was bad.
The Happy Meal Beast Wars toys.
Oh god, they were bad
because they are actual Beast Wars characters, and those are the toys for those characters, and they're the only toys for those characters. So they are objectively terrible, but they are 100% canon.
That's awesome.
I'm afraid no, they're really not. Let me see if I can get a good image.
They're not cheap either. They are not cheap.
No, they're really.
I know,
no,
this is
yeah.
under 3, the line head where you just open it up and there's a robot inside that looks like Optimus Primal. I was looking for that for the longest time, but I wasn't willing to pay what people wanted for it. And then at my first TF Nation, it was just in a bag of all of these for like 20 quid.
Oh. Is that where you wanted, Lee? Is that the ones I found?
So it's the first year where they're actual Beetle, Manta, Panther, and Rhino. Those are their names. Nothing.
Those are the names?
It describes their alt modes, but it's also their name.
Oh, wow.
That's what it says on the tin.
Whoa.
And then for the second year, they gave transmetal forms to the season 1 characters who didn't get transmetal forms. So you've got Dinobot, Black Arachnia, and Scorponok.
That's Dinobot.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty. It falls down to more of a raptor, but that's rubbish.
But
You can see like
age when you got decent Happy Meal toys. Well, they were.
Yeah. That's fair.
Well, you don't get toys in Happy Meals anymore, do you?
No.
Or
cereal boxes.
That's
no,
amazing.
yeah.
I did not. Thank you. I did not realize those existed. That's hilarious.
Stick with me, my friend. I have a whole world to show you.
They're all in the boxes behind him.
No, this is Zoids and Dino Riders.
No, the clear box is the other side. No, I know there's Zoids.
Boxes. Oh god, yeah. This is
sorry, in the West Wing, Lee. In the West Wing.
There's a Mega Scream, one of the very rare action masters from Europe.
Yeah.
There's the rare Red Hotspot repaint from the Generations Inferno.
Do you love it that it's terrible, or you love it because it's good?
Oh look, there's Vector Oracle, the clear green repaint of Nightstick, who represents Primus in the Precursor World series.
Blimey, that's a D1.
My choice was Happy Meal toys. They are awful, but I love them.
I'm trying to think, what toy do I love that is terrible? Because generally, I either love it and people do, and if I don't, it's terrible and I get rid of it. So I'm going to try my hardest to think of a sensible answer for you. So Steve, you might have to take my place.
It's really easy to rag on G1 stuff because in the nicest possible way, as David just quite rightly highlighted, some of those toys haven't aged so well, but the ones that I always absolutely fascinated me as a kid and I played with to death, and because everybody had them, like everybody had the jump starters. They were just jump starters everywhere. It doesn't matter what kid's house you went to. I'm sure if you still bought G1 job lots on eBay to this day, there will be jump starters in there. But literally, you've got 2 points of articulation, which were the arms that moved up and down, and the gimmick never, ever worked. Not once can I ever recall having pulled a jump starter back, let it go, and it auto tries to flip and landing on its feet. Never. But
do you remember trying to alter the thing on the head as if like that would somehow magically fix it, and it never did? It's
supposed to have some sort of like not gear selecting, but you're supposed to be able to adjust the speed or the force which the spring goes or something. I don't know what that's supposed to do.
Nonsense.
It doesn't do anything. There's definitely something there. It's definitely doing something. I just don't know what it is. But yeah, the jump starters, objectively terrible toys. And then when you think about it, to come back again to what we were talking about earlier, 2 objectively terrible toys that became members of the Wreckers and sort of went up like that in UK comic continuity, because that's where the Wreckers originated, and then Topspin and Twin Twist went on to all the stuff they did with IDW, and then they got the Titans Return toys. They've actually become quite fan favorite characters from 2 terrible G1 toys.
Would you like me to blow your mind?
You always do.
No, don't do it.
So Jumpstarters got knocked off an awful lot in the 80s with those weird multicolored things. They're still making Jumpstarter toys not official. There's a company in Germany which has taken the basic body shape, so the arms move up like that and the legs kick over their head, they lie on their back, and they're a vehicle. I can't remember the name of them. When I find them, I will send you the details.
Brilliant.
But they managed to make them even more, that made them better, because they've got fists that slide into their hands and stuff comes up from between their legs like construction crane claws and everything. They're really weird, and they still make them. And there's lots of different variants. They don't have the pull back and go thing anymore, but the design is spot on. They are definitely inspired by Jumpstarters. So Jumpstarters have never died.
I don't know if that's a good
thing. And if anything was more deserving of having died, it would be the Jumpstarters.
Well, I found one that I'm going to try and remember my timeline for it, but it was very much in a point where Transformers was on the way out. So this is either, and I'll be kept honest, I'm sure, this is either very, very late G1, but I know it got repackaged into G2, and I was buying up G2 perfectly fine, thank you very much. But it was this little boy in various color schemes, and it's going to be a small image. Let me zoom in. Sparkstalker. This was terrible in as much as it was even I knew that was an awful transformation. It just kind of stood up and opened out and said, there you go, it's transformed. I'm like, I've done 3 things. And its fun part was the wheel on its belly, if I remember rightly. That you dragged along and shot sparks out for, and it didn't age well. This is the translucent version, but I can't remember the purple and yellow one that came out, which I did have, and funny enough, Bisto grabbed at TF Nation Reading just gone. It's just an awful, ugly design. But yeah, I loved it. I loved it at this point because it was still Transformers, and I was still happy collecting G2 when everyone else was pulling out of it. But yeah, those toys back then, they were really running out of ideas. Not to say that everything was bad, far from it, because we had some absolute belters in the 1.5s going into G2 toys, some of the larger ones. But the smaller ones, you felt they were just really gimmicky and running out of ideas. What do we have here?
I found them. They're called Simba Planet. You can buy them on Amazon, and there's lots of different designs. But you can see that is a Jumpstarter. Someone's taken the basic design and they've updated it as much as you can. And they've come up with all these variants.
You talk about your fan fiction lore. Somebody's got to be making characters for these now.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh, massive.
Coming up with this.
Because this will be someone's Optimus Prime, and there'll be a whole spotlight backstory to it, and it will be like, I'm going to make this my hero.
Head. That is an RX-98 Gundam head.
Yes.
He actually gave the serial number for it. I love it.
Wow. So that's ripping off 2 properties at once. I like it.
I know. That's a tripe. No, it's good. So yeah, that would be my choice, David, is the fact that, but I didn't mind because the G2 stuff or just getting stuff, I was just glad to see Transformers on the shelf.
The G2 ones, did they still have the literal, like the flint gimmick where like they would actually spit some kind of
yeah it was the same, just repackaged.
Yeah,
they did make them clear plastic, and of course naturally they broke. Such was clear plastic. It took nothing to get a stress mark on it. But they still had all the same toy gimmicks, but it was just big, nice new box and shiny new text and font and a slightly different Autobot logo. And I was like, oh, wow, fine. But people were just throwing away Transformers for fun at that point. And I was just gobbling it all up. I was like, right, this is great. I wish I kept hold of some of them. Play with to death, but that would be my choice.
There was a brief period in time, I can't remember because I was very young, but yeah, you had the original, the Sparkstalkers and oh god, what were the Autobots? The Sizzle, Fizzle, and Guzzle. They were the
Sparkler Minibots.
Sparkler Minibots. Yeah, there we go. And you had in other brands. I'm sure there was a He-Man character. Yeah,
Monster Bots.
There's like a number of them. It's like a very brief. Like everybody was trying to find the latest gimmick that would work, and for a very brief period, like loads of lines had these like spark
I mean, it was
character.
it was a bit silly, but it still is going now because, of course, you had, what did they call them again? I forgot them last time. The Aqualators, the ones that can fire water out of the Autobot cars.
Stormtroopers and
Aqua Speeders.
That's it.
Something like that. But the gimmick is they shot water. And of course, it's fairly harmless for a kid to play with that as a toy. But then why would you want a Transformer and fighting into war and say, like, here's my plasma rifle. Well, here's some water from Thames Water. There you go. It's, it's...
Hey, that did over my house a few years ago. So, yeah, I can tell you it can be very destructive.
Very true. Very true.
It depends if one of his colleagues is covered in scraplets or not, because then you need water.
Okay, fine. Make it. He says what? He knows what he's doing. But yeah, everything has to have a gimmick, and to a point, everything does now. That hasn't changed. But the toys were very gimmick laden at that point. But that hasn't changed. We went into Minicons, Power Link, and the time's gone on. But yes, there always has to be something. But yeah, fair one to bring up, David. Nice choices. Steve, I think you're the only one left to go with the final topic.
So I wanted, and again, erring towards the toys, and we mentioned Transformers Prime toys earlier, and I don't know how many of yourselves or folks in the chat were fussed about Transformers Prime, because I know I certainly am. But what fascinated me with Transformers Prime was the first edition toys that they did, and the fact that they fundamentally released a collector-orientated kind of preview line prior to the launch of the mainline, for a phrase, and they've never done that since. You've had other stuff. You've had obviously Studio Series now sort of tags on with, oh look, here's your whatever, and here's your Studio Series version. But to launch a collector-orientated version of your toy line as a preview, they've never done that before, and they've never done it since. And I just wonder what folks' thoughts were on that kind of thing happening.
I mean, I think it'd be a good idea. They were really several levels above what was eventually released at retail, particularly when you had characters where you could directly compare.
Things like the Veercon and Cliff Jumper. Yeah.
But then those toys got repainted and reused a lot more than the retail ones. So the Starscream got redone as Thundercracker and Skywarp in Japan, and then in the West they had a comic exclusive one which had Starscream had more pink on him. Cliff Jumper got turned into G1 Cliff Jumper for the GDO series. Bulkhead got turned into Brawn, and he also got turned into Brawn again in Cloud. So it's not as if Hasbro didn't get their money's worth out of those figures. But I always consider them an early version of the Studio Series, because when Studio Series first came out, those toys were far more complicated than the previous toys we had of those characters, and they felt like they were actually aimed at adult collectors rather than children, because they were just so difficult to do a lot of the time. And I think the way Studio Series has gone since then, because of budgetary concerns and things like that, we've lost that a little bit. So I do wonder if they brought back a premium class figure, which was the same size as your regular deluxes and that, how much that's going to cost. Are they going to do the thing like they do now with Hot Rod, where they say, this is a Voyager, it's deluxe size, but it's got more bits in it, that's why it's more expensive?
Yeah, I think we are going to see a bit of that. I mean, Hasbro have kind of like hinted towards that around the Titan sizes, like where you got the Predaking one, which isn't, say, Titan sizes, but has more parts to it. I'm guessing it's going to be
Convoy.
You
just described Star Convoy.
Yeah, it's got more bits, and therefore it justifies a Titan price point. But it's yes or no. But Tidal Wave is another point we had before. I do think that is going to be a thing. Sadly, that they're going to adjust depending on the character as much as anything else.
I mean, the one thing they did quite well, because the first edition stuff, as it was called Transformers Prime First Edition, quite specifically. and it had a very, very sort of limited window run. I mean, some of it was really, really tricky to get hold of first time around. But when the mainline came out, the first edition stuff effectively sort of ceased distribution, so they weren't competing against themselves with their own shelf space, which of course is the danger. If you've got a collector themed hot rod and a Earthspark hot rod, you've now sucked 2 pegs up with hot rods.
Also, timing.
That was in the days of global distribution not being there, so we couldn't even order the first edition figures from a UK company.
No,
they didn't have them. I didn't get them first time around because I couldn't get hold of them. They weren't available anywhere. And even today, I've only got Starscream, the Viacon, and Bulkhead because I picked them up in the aftermarket. But because the aftermarket prices for those figures is so high now, and because APC brings out their version and it's just as good, if not better, the impetus to pick them up isn't quite there.
Yeah, I think most of mine back in the day came from Robot Kingdom from memory, because like you said, there was just no means of getting it. And again, to come back to that whole collector orientated sort of bit, they were very for something they were trying to push on to collectors, because obviously they'd had quite a boom of collectors. You're talking post well, in fact, Revenge of the Fallen would have been out by that point.
Yeah, so Prime came out in 2010, and Revenge of the Fallen
when
was
did
the
Dark
year
of the Moon come? Oh no, was Dark of the Moon before
2012, 11, 12?
Yeah,
Dark
so
of the Moon Prime would have been going as Dark of the Moon.
as Dark of the Moon was coming out. So they knew they had a market for these more sort of grown up toys, for want of a better phrase. But yeah, they just didn't do a good job of getting them out to people.
But as I say, I think they consider Studio Series to be that line now.
Yeah, very, very much so.
Yeah, I think we're coming on to, as you say, what is now the current wave of collecting, the wave of doing things. It's just changed so much, hasn't it? How we pick up toys and waves and trilogies and price points per year.
I was ordering stuff from Hong Kong because that was the easiest way to get hold of it.
Yeah.
When it came out, because the wait for it to actually appear in UK shops, if it appeared at all, was months.
Well, you think about it, it wasn't that long ago that we still were struggling to get hold of figures. Like, Combiner Wars? And even then, we didn't get all of them. But before that, okay, granted, the toy lines maybe wasn't as full, but just getting hold of Studio Series or mainline release figures, what was your distribution? Now we're somewhat spoiled for it, because what do we say? Like, I'll give him as an example, but he comes up a lot. Combiner Wars Slingshot. Couldn't find him for love nor money. Or you did find him, you pay through the nose for him. When's the last time you said that about a current mainline figure? Now we've got all of our links to an In Demand or whoever else, and you just go and get a figure.
Change the game as well, because they're
in a good way or a bad way.
Well, if you're an independent retailer, bad probably, but if you're a collector, then good, because they are importing Japanese stuff now. So if you want MPGs, Pulse may well have it up. It's more reliable to get it from somebody like In Demand, because they have a history of getting this stuff in and sending it on to you, whereas Pulse is still finding its feet as far as imports go, because you don't know that they will definitely get something. So you can't wait around for Pulse to say, we're going to be selling the next Masterpiece figure, because they never put it up for pre-order when it becomes available in Japan, which is when an independent trader will put it up for pre-order.
Yeah, I think when you look at, sorry, Ian.
No, go for it.
I'll say, and again, to look at that, to about Pulse and to about Hasbro themselves, with that collector's market being the way that it is now, and again, you sort of skew the topic off into whole, what are the demographics of people buying toys, and we know that's changed, but Hasbro are now literally doing reissues and reruns and package refreshes of sold out sought after toys. Hasbro have actually got a handle on. We know that Earthrise Thrust. We know that Earthrise Thrust was a really tough store exclusive to get hold of. We know loads of people wanted it. We know it goes to number of pennies on the secondary market, and we are now going to reissue that toy and give you another chance to. I'm sure it was you. I mentioned it to Ian at Reading, where we were doing a loop around the dealer hall, and there was an Earthrise Thrust sat on. It might well have been in demand for about 32 quid, and it was just sat there. It didn't shift, and Earthrise Thrust was fetching big bucks. I did a group buy. I organised a group buy through another fan in Australia, a chap called Jason Murray. I'm sure Lee. I'm sure you know Jason. Goes to
nice guy.
He lovely guy. He helped me get hold of some thrusts. I think I managed to get about 6 or 7. We sort of weighed the cost up with the post up, so forth and so forth. And they came out to about 55 quid each for me to then forward them on to folks in the UK. And I got through all of them. I burnt through all of them. That was me doing them at cost because I was just trying to get stuff into people's hands. But that was still cheaper than what they were changing hands for on eBay.
Oh, massive. Yeah.
And now Hasbro gone, we know you can't get this, and we are reissuing it. And we certainly, to use your example, Ian, of the Combiner Wars, some of the limbs, we've never had that. We've never had them look at the secondary market and do reissues.
And that was the norm, because back in 2001, when Battle Unicorn for Beast Machines came out, and it was a BBTS exclusive, I think it was Andrew Turnbull did a whip round and said, right, I'm going to order a case or two, who wants in? And we all gave him our money, and then a couple of weeks later, he was posting out Battle Unicorns, and they're still considered quite rare as far as figures go. But to still be doing that 20 years later,
You think though, like that example of store exclusives, we had that. It was sort of grown, wasn't it, on Hasbro Pulse streams? It was like this would be a Walmart exclusive, this would be a this exclusive, and they've fallen by the wayside. Whether that's Hasbro thinking that they're not getting the money in from doing these exclusives as they once were, or if it's just giving fair play to the fandom, I don't know.
Well, the exclusive thing always comes down to what the store is willing to take on, because there's been plenty of exclusives that never saw the light of day, like Space Warp. I know Guzzy's gonna like someone talking about Space Warp, where they made this alternative deco for Armada Jetfire, purple, and no one wanted it, so it never got released. And so many figures have fallen by the wayside, and sometimes Hasbro can find an avenue for them to get them out elsewhere, like those G2 styled Seacons, which were originally decided as a store exclusive for the Universe line, but eventually had to go via the Transformers Collectors Club as an exclusive because no major retail outlet wanted it. But as far as doing premium things, if we started with first edition Starscream, one of the most immaculately engineered deluxe figures ever, we're now at Horse and Cart Optimus Prime. That's the journey. That's not for little kids. That's for us. That's what Hasbro thinks we want.
And that is about as much of a point to end tonight's stream as you can possibly do. That is a journey to end up at Horse and Cart. I think that's probably covered off your point there, Steve. What we'll do is we'll go round the table, see what people are doing. Thank you, everyone who has tuned in and watched. David, we'll start with you. You've been busy recently at the moment, Thought Bubble and TF Nation. So
yes,
are you going to have a break at some point?
I am, yes. The convention season is now finished for me for the year, which is, I was going to say, which is nice. Now, I love conventions. They're absolutely wonderful. So I will be looking forward to when they start up again. But yeah, it's going to be a quieter time for me for the rest of the year, where I'm just like sat in my studio scribbling and making stuff. I've got, let me see, still in the shops right now. We've got Chitara Worldbreaker, which you can buy, which would be very good. There's also something from Chapo Trap House called Year Zero, which is an anthology, which my story's ongoing. I think it's going to be the next 3 issues. It's kind of like a sci-fi parody pastiche, maybe. I don't know. It's satire, I'd say, actually, is the best way to describe it. It's about a colony on Mars of scientists who find out they get bought out by the world's richest man, and things slowly start to go wrong.
So Elon Musk is buying out people.
I mean, I couldn't possibly say that's who it's based on. I couldn't possibly say. But
go on, Elon. Kick me off Twitter. I won't.
There may be parallels to certain people around in the world. And so that's come out, and I'm doing various number of comic kind of things on the way.
Don't tell me things you can't talk about.
The only thing I can tell you for certain now is continuing Supernatural covers for Dynamite.
Okay.
So if you pick up my variant, because it gets me more work. And then obviously go to my coffee shop and go buy some of my prints. That'd be lovely.
Of course, as always, all the links in the description, and your coffee link is already in the description. I've learned to take that from before.
What a pro!
Oh well, it's not my first rodeo. But yeah, no, absolutely, and no, great work on the conventions and the uptakes and seeing your wares as always. I'm very glad to see the Lost Light sketch back, as I said to you at the time. So that's cool.
You were right. That did so well, despite the fact it's one of my oldest pieces now. Yeah, I brought it back out, and it sold very, very well. It's very nice.
Yeah.
So I may revisit that.
Don't lose sight on the other half of the Predacon charge.
No,
you've done that.
I was just going to say, actually, that's one of the next things. There's something for TF Nation I can't mention yet, and there will be the mirroring half, the Predacons side versus the Maximals. If you haven't seen it, it's on my shop. I did a big thing of all the Maximals charging in one direction, and it's like,
David, will you be at TFN Manchester?
I may. I'm literally wrestling with this right now.
Let's get rid of that word "may" for a start.
Look at that. All but one of the Maximals that ever appeared in the TV show.
I know, it's a personal choice. It does wind some people up, because I say it's every Maximal in the show, and like, I was like, one's missing. It's like, yeah, but I didn't like that one.
Hold on a minute. Have I actually missed one? Who you missed? Hold on. Who have you missed?
It's a version of a character. It's like the character's represented, but I've cherry picked.
Season 3, Ian. Season 3.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah, we're waiting for you to get.
So, David, sorry, Manchester is a definite maybe.
Black Arachnia.
Yes,
you're right. Yeah. I've gone with the original version of Black Arachnia. One, because I don't like TM2.
I'd agree with that, and that's fine. If anything, and I'm not going to tell you how to do your job in the slightest, but I would have said like you would have put her in TM2 version in here, and then for the Predacon side had TM1 because she changed sides, so it's like she's got to be on a side, I suppose.
Well, yeah, I think that's the thing. It's like, I think for me, she was always. I never liked the whole binary thing of like, if you're Autobot or Maximal, you're automatically good, and like Decepticon or Predacon, you're bad. Because I think Dinobot and Black Arachnia both prove there's a nuance there.
Yeah,
and for me, she was a Maximal before she ever changed form.
That's a very good point. Of course, she was a Maximal Protoform. You're absolutely right, and she did not need a TM2 or TM upgrade of any kind. She got like 99% of her way through the show. It's like, you're upgraded. Yeah. I'm like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
A bit late.
Yeah, and that's
all right. I interrupted. So you may be doing Manchester.
Yeah, it's I'm leaning towards it, to be honest. And the thing is, it's kind of this me saying like I've got a choice. It's if they'll have me. There's an element of like I have to apply and see if I can get a spot. And they do say, because they're very highly subscribed now, it's like they can't guarantee that. They do actually have like a system where they try to give everybody a chance. And so it's kind of like, maybe I might be there, possibly. I got to wait to see about the application times and see how things go. I would like to be there.
Well, fingers crossed for you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Well, thank you for coming on. Lee, what are you working on, if anything at all? Have you got to tell us where can people find you, if nothing else?
Oh well, you've got my Instagram on the show notes. I can see already. You've got my Blue Sky down here. I'm just trying to get through Christmas. I'm trying to get to the
I'm
end
trying
of
to
the
get through to Wednesday.
I'm going to meet Guillermo del Toro tomorrow, and then
Nice.
going to swing by the Betsy store on Monday. I've got to try and packing as many Christmas dinners as I can in between now and the end of the month. David has completed the commissions that I gave him for my YouTube stuff, which I'm very grateful for. Excellent work as always.
They were good fun.
Which you all have seen.
Oh, the lovely images. Yeah, very good.
And I bought myself a tablet in the Black Friday sales so that I can actually write scripts while I'm looking at the television. So it's all coming together. Yeah. 2026 is going to be my year, I tell you.
The year of the spider, 2026. But,
and can I make a request? I was going to say, this is on behalf of Lee and myself. That if somebody makes a custom Spiderfather figure, we would like 2, please.
Yes,
we want
2.
1 each.
3. I saw the commissions of a certain spider go out, and I knew straight away, without even looking at who posted the message and who was the credited artist. I'm like, I know who's done it, and I know who it's for. I didn't need to know anything else.
The branding
excellent work, of course. Yeah, exactly. Let's just say you have a type, both of you. Excellent stuff. Steve, where can the lovely people find you?
I'm at Skywarp SCS. I'm still kicking around Twitter, Blue Sky, and Instagram, although erring more and more away from Twitter as the days go by. Still trying my hand at the YouTubing. We've got another video going up tomorrow night. That'll be up at 6 p.m. where we're having a lightning quick run through of the Wrath of Guardian and the Wrath of Grimlock, which is one story. But for those of you that know, it's one story, but obviously both parts will be titled individually. Not really sticking to a schedule per se with the YouTube. I don't want to pigeonhole myself and saying every other Thursday or whatever. Ian, my schedule can be quite erratic at times, and I think I'd do myself a disservice if I tried to stick to something like that and then didn't make it. You know what? I'd start kicking myself and getting grumpy about it. But no, so it's coming along. Fingers crossed in the new year. I keep threatening to get some more guests onto the channel. I've not pulled it off yet for a variety of reasons. Software has scuppered me on at least one occasion. Just haven't got my head around that yet. And there's always logistics. People are busy, and I'm well aware that I'll be sucking up their time. But fingers crossed, new year, a few guests, and we will just keep doing those retrospective walkthroughs of those Transformers books.
Excellent, and congratulations on 2 notes. You've had one of your last videos do pretty well. It's fair to say. And a little bit of a dated line, but congratulations on you cleared 100 subscribers. So there you go. It's a milestone you need to tick off, if nothing else. So we've all got to get through it and past it. So well done to you. As I say, everyone's details, you go and check them out. It's all in the description of the video below. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me this evening. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. And as always, I will see you on the next one. And the stream.